Now, our first speaker, you've heard his advertisements on the radio. You're getting to know him a little bit by little bit. His name is Vance Patterson, and I'd like him to come and start us off with his first speech.
What a great day to be an American.
Amen.
And you know what they say about America on days like today? God bless America. My name is Vance Patterson. I'm a neighbor of yours here in Burke County. I'm a father of 4, married 35 years. We've lived here about 16 years now. I'm a small business owner. I've got a company that makes industrial fans. I am a manufacturer. A year ago, we had our first tea party, and we really didn't know what to expect. We showed up and we started putting our signs out. We hung our banner that's right behind me now up on the courthouse, had our flag up there, and we set up our tent and our tea and everything. Well, by the time we got ready to kick it off, we had over 500 people here. And I don't know about the other speakers, but it was the first time I'd spoken in public. Talked about small business and the taxes that keep us from growing and creating jobs. Some of those taxes are on this list right here. Well, a lot has happened since last year. Our crowd has gotten bigger, our amplifier has gotten bigger, and our problems have gotten bigger.
That's right.
For the first time, I'm concerned about our future generations. The generations we'll never meet. The massive tax we're leaving them, or the massive debt we're leaving them, they'll never be able to pay off.
That's right.
They're going to look back on us and say, what were you thinking? Leaving us a debt like this? And all for your personal short-term gains. And worse than that debt is the culture that caused it. A culture of entitlement. We're leaving our future generations a culture of entitlement that says, just because I'm an American, I'm entitled. Not because I did anything, but just because I'm here. Well, a lot more has happened since last year. A lot more changes. While we protested and drew attention to the taxes and the government intrusion into our lives, the progressives continued an assault on our Constitution. An assault that began clear back in the early 1900s under Woodrow Wilson. Neighbors, our country is in trouble. Our problems are getting worse over the last year. Jobs, immigration, Social Security, tax reform, and on and on. These things have not been improved and they've gotten worse. But compounding all these problems is the assault on our Constitution. Wave after wave of socialism is pounding against our Constitution, eroding our freedoms. Neighbors, we need to be the force in nature that steps up to those angry waves of socialism and says, thus far and no farther. And then as in nature, we need to begin rolling those waters back, rebuilding our Constitution, and reestablishing our freedoms. Now, the progressives have been very clever this last year in attacking and assaulting our freedoms. While I was preparing for this talk, I realized that they are actually using the Constitution to attack our Bill of Rights. The Bill of Rights was set up by the Founding Fathers on demand from the states. There's 10 of them, 10 amendments that make up our Bill of Rights, and they protect we the people from a government of tyranny. They spell out what our rights are against a government that wants to take them away. Now, the federal government, the progressives, are using a part of the Constitution known as the General Welfare Clause to attack our Bill of Rights. The General Welfare Clause appears twice in the Constitution, once in the preamble, and then again in Article 1, Section 8. And basically what they're interpreting it to say is that anytime the general welfare of the public is in question, it has precedent over the individual's rights. And that would just stun our Founding Fathers to know that had been interpreted that way. They are using this General Welfare Clause to attack our First Amendment, Amendment of free speech. Just this week, out of here in the state of North Carolina, they have put out an ordinance that says you cannot have a stick longer than 1 foot long at a rally like this. Now, you try to wave a flag from a 1 foot stick. It's not going to work. And fortunately, here in Burke County, they didn't listen to that ordinance. Another part of the First Amendment that's being attacked is the removal of all references of God in government. They're already removing it from our schools, our courts, and all government offices. And this needs to stop. The progressives are using the General Welfare Clause to attack our Second Amendment right to keep and bear arms. Now, a lot of people think this right was put in there so people living on the frontier could protect themselves against the dangers and put food on the table. Well, you need to know the history of the people that wrote that Constitution. They came from England, where they had tyranny, and they didn't have guns. That's one of the first things a government does, is remove the right to protect yourself when they're moving towards tyranny. Now, I've been a gun owner since I was 6 years old. And if I had the right to own a gun when I was 6, how in the world could I not have a right to own a gun now? The progressives are using the General Welfare Clause to attack the Fifth Amendment, the right to personal property. Now, you've heard in the news where the government has seized property from a private landowner, sold it to a developer just so he could build on it and increase the value. And that way the government gets to tax more. They're deeming this as general welfare for the country, and that is wrong. Progressives are using the General Welfare Clause to attack the 9th and 10th Amendment. These two amendments were set up to reserve all rights not explicitly given to the government in the Constitution. Reserve those rights for the people and the states. We, the people, are having those rights taken away from us. One good example of this is the health care bill that just passed. That unfunded mandate has been put on the states, a mandate that they can't pay for without increasing taxes. The federal government is dictating that the states increase their taxes in order to pay for that health care, and that is wrong. The progressives, over this past year, have continued to nationalize our banks, our insurance industry, our manufacturing, our education, and our health care, and it's going to go on and on. This Tea Party movement needs to stand up to those progressives. We've got a problem in Washington with our representatives. Either they don't know how to stand up to the progressives or they refuse to. I'm going to give you the words of a famous, powerful world leader who back in 1949 described what it was like when European socialism swept across Germany, Spain, and Italy. And see if some of these words, some of these phrases, don't sound familiar to you today as to what we're up against. Winston Churchill said, "Laws, just and unjust, may govern men's actions. Tyrannies may restrain or regulate their words. The machinery of propaganda may pack their minds with falsehood and deny them truth for many generations of time. But the soul of man, thus held in trance or frozen in a long night, can be awakened by a spark coming from God knows where, and in a moment, the whole structure of lies and oppression is on trial for its life." I'm here today to tell you, with the spark of this Tea Party movement, that trial begins for the liberal, progressive, socialist movement. Yeah. This Tea Party needs to stand up to the progressives, just as it did in the 1770s. They had problems with their leadership. They had problems with their representatives who would not or could not stand up to King George. Finally, one of our founding fathers told those representatives to either lead, follow, or get out of the way. And that's what this Tea Party movement needs to do. Tell our representatives in Washington, lead, follow, or get out of the way, because we're coming to Washington. And as we move on Washington, hold on to this thought, no matter how difficult it gets. When our future generations look back on us, the generations we'll never meet, when they look back on us, let it not be said that we did nothing. God bless America.